l'État. Animé à un certain moment par un esprit de vengeance politique, tel que le démantèlement du BAI, à qui ont chanté le fameux Ponzi, mais qui a coûté l'État 20 milliards de roupies. Le revers du Betamax, qui a dû forcer la State Trading Corporation de ce gouvernement à payer 5,3 milliards de leur caisse et qui a mis en faillite la STC avec un déficit de 1 milliard. La dette publique qui avoisine les 426 milliards. Le manque de transparence dans le déboursement des fonds du MIC, fonds qui a largement bénéficié, pas à ceux au bas de l'échelle, mais ces compagnies qui brassent même des millions et des milliards et dont, j'en suis sûr, les directeurs ne consomment point du saumon Glenrick, mais que du caviar. Monsieur le Président, ce gouvernement est coupé de la réalité, car ils sont trop occupés avec les magnats financiers pour des développements fonciers, à l'exemple des hippodromes du futur, qui dans les médias ne peut soulager la misère et la douleur de ce peuple, mais pire, qui entraînera peut-être le licenciement de 500 travailleurs dans le domaine hippique. Mr. Speaker, sir, let me mention briefly our pensioners. Most of our old-age pensioners spend money on two basic commodities, particularly medicine and food. Unfortunately for them, both commodities had major prices increase, making the life of these people extremely difficult to meet ends at the end of the month, and forget if they have to pay rent. Mr. Speaker, sir, the elderly have unfortunately been taken on a ride during the last election when they were promised that there will be a rise in the pension. In the meantime, for them, it is just an illusion. Je le dis et je le redis. Le réveil de nos pensionnaires serait brutal pour ce gouvernement et la colère de la population qui gronde. Monsieur le Président, quand la nation est mise au courant des abus de gouvernance de ce gouvernement, tels que le scandale en série au ministère de la Santé, le pack and blister qui nous a coûté 77,9 millions, dont on n'a jamais vu un respirateur, ni au moins un sou qui est retourné à la caisse de l'État, et pas d'arrestation à ce jour. Le Molnupiravir Saga, avec le prix qui change en 24 heures, de 7,89 roupies 30 à 79 roupies, un surplus de 65 millions de roupies, et le contrat a lieu dans 24 heures au Blue Eye Boy du ministère de la Santé. La retraite anticipée et le Golden Handshake du chef de ce département, qui a sa part de responsabilité dans l'organigramme des exercices de procurement. Pas d'arrestation et business as usual. Ça fait mal, ça agace, ça fait déjà des troubles dans le pays. L'allocation de 1,5 billion de roupies à des petits copains par la State Trading Corporation pour l'octroi des masques, des PPE, des respirateurs, tandis que, parmi tant d'autres, ces organisations compagnies n'ont jamais été des fournisseurs agréés par le ministère de la Santé. Monsieur le Président, ce gaspillage d'achat des médicaments, tels que le hydroxychloroquine, 500 000 comprimés pour le traitement de soi-disant ceux atteints du Covid-19, et en se servant du Emergency Procurement, qui dans quelques semaines ou mois devront être toutes détruites. That was panic buying to support friends and cronies. Mr. Speaker, sir, if COVID-19 is always mentioned as one of the reasons of the state of our economy, then it was indeed a moment of sacrifice and prayers for most of us. But for some friends and cronies, it was bumper crop. Thanks to the generous purchaser, the Ministry of Health, who never questioned the quality, the source of supply, the standard of products, the KYC of foreign companies bidding, without forgetting the prices quoted well above current prices and sometimes 10 times more. Should the population therefore stay quiet and not voice their feelings when tax money is being involved? Mr. Speaker, sir, the MOH approach to emergency procurement during the pandemic was marked by a toxic mix of misspending and cronyism. Monsieur le Président, quand le gouvernement refuse de rendre public le rapport du FSC sur les décès des 11 patients dialysés positifs à la COVID, c'est révoltant, inacceptable. C'est une insulte à la mémoire des décès et de leurs familles. Monsieur le Président, il attend des explications pourquoi leurs proches ont succombé. Était-ce la non-priorisation des vaccins, le manque de médicaments tels que le remdesivir une logistique mal inspirée ou tout simplement de la négligence médicale. Monsieur le Président, quand un membre de la majorité, jadis Premier ministre adjoint, fait savoir ses sentiments, je ne vois pas comment on peut appeler cette hécatombe autrement qu'un carnage. Le ministre de la Santé ne trouve pas mieux comme façade à ne pas divulguer les conclusions de son rapport. Et le ridicule ne tue pas quand le ministre nous dit que dans le passé, les rapports des investisseurs ne sont pas rendus publics. Quand notre économie est si fragile, n'est-il pas révoltant et provocatrice quand tant de ministres se rendent à Dubaï pour le Dubaï Jalsa qui nous a coûté à au moins 550 millions officiellement? C'est cette arrogance du gouvernement qui fait mal. Monsieur le Président, pour terminer, la vérité est que la masse silencieuse, elle aussi, se trouve entre le marteau et l'enclume, et celle-ci n'a pas dit son dernier mot que quand le péril sera appelé aux urnes, à moins que le type électronique nous fait des tours.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Honorable Jagutpal.
Mr. Speaker, sir, I will start my intervention by quoting the English poet, John Dryden. It reads as follows: "What flocks of critics hover here today? What flocks of critics hover here today as vultures, again as vultures wait on armies for their prey, all gaping for the carcass of a play, with croaking notes, they bud some dire events." This is end of the quote. Mr. Speaker, sir, our Prime Minister was indeed brilliantly summarizes this as the croque-mort. So today, Mr. Speaker, sir, the leader of the opposition chose to come with a motion of no confidence, and to go to such extreme, it's only to exist, or it's only to have a purpose. It's a pity. While populations, while governments, and even oppositions are working to address the unprecedented challenges here, the focus is on how to come back to power by all means. Mr. Speaker, sir, when the claims of élections truquées are falling into pieces, they have embarked on yet another agenda. So, Mr. Speaker, sir, let me first refute some arguments made by the former speakers. I will start by the Honorable Leader of Opposition. He forgets that in spite of the ongoing challenges, we are sustaining the welfare state. Mr. Speaker, sir, more than 75% of the population of patients are having treatment in government hospitals, in government healthcare centers, and out of them, more than 90% of the elderly, they have recourse to the public hospital, which are totally free. Mr. Speaker, sir, for cancer patients, the drugs are available in the public sector. Mr. Speaker, sir, the leader of the opposition, I believe at one point he has to inform the House which medication Yusuf is on, and instead of making vague statement. Mr. Speaker, sir, even if you consider Xanax have an equivalent. The equivalent of Xanax is Valium. And Valium, you know, Mr. Speaker, sir, obviously it prevents you to get stressed out, and obviously it will help keep the hairs on. Mr. Speaker, sir.
Order.
Mr. Speaker, sir, on the Medical Negligence Standing Committee, the statement made again by the Honorable Leader of Opposition,
Order.
They are false and malicious. In fact, he should have, even if he would have requested me what happened to the MNSC, I would have informed him that the chairman at present, he was not in Mauritius for the last 2 weeks. He had already met the relatives of the deceased dialysis patients, and I have his text message now, and what he's saying is totally, again, false and malicious. Mr. Speaker, sir, about the patient he referred, the patient who had a bullet wound in his body. This bullet wound has already been removed, and the patient who will be discharged in the coming days, and not what the opposition was saying, that this patient has to be transferred elsewhere for further treatment. Mr. Speaker, so again, I will come back with what the Honorable Leader, the Honorable Shakil Mohammed said earlier. In fact, when he was a former Minister of Labour, and at that time, sending of Mauritians to work abroad, and overnight, the spouse of the latter turns into an agent, an agent recruiter. Is this not a total moral failure?
Wait.
Minister has no right to impute motives, and what he has done is imputing motives in relation to the wife of a honourable member who intervened. I think this is uncalled for. He has to withdraw.
Wait, what is happening in this house? Make your point.
I've stated very clearly that the honourable minister has imputed motives in relation to the wife of a honourable member. He has no right to say that the wife has taken advantage to set up a company for workers to work overseas. I think this is uncalled for.
No, but did you say that the honourable member has set up a company to recruit overseas?
Let's look at it. Then we have to find out whether what he has stated is right or not. And I've heard him, and he has stated that the wife of an honourable member has set up a company for to send workers to work overseas.
You heard that honourable member saying, please, what is happening there, Honourable Tilak? That you said that the wife of the honourable member has set up a company to recruit.
Mr. Speaker, sir, I stated a former Minister of Labour approves the sending of Mauritians to work abroad.
Okay. You don't have a point over there. Continue.
So, Mr. Speaker, sir, again, I have no lesson to take from an ex-minister.
No, are you questioning my ruling? No, you members, you think you can question a ruling like this? The honourable member said, a former minister. There have been many former ministers here and abroad and everywhere. No, he didn't say that. So, listen, if you continue to question my ruling, then please continue.
Mr. Speaker, sir, let me continue with what I have to say. So I can share it with all members that I had something read as follows. HA couldn't be involved in other cases of fraud. This is indicated by the Central Investigation Division of the Metropolitan Police of the North Division, who arrested him on Monday, February 10, in the wake of a fraud case. And this one, what it meant, she had promised to find a job for his son, but HA, former political agent of SM, seized money from a resident of Plainvert without giving effect to the steps. Mr. Speaker, sir, let me continue. I have again no lesson to take from an ex-minister involved in Goraisak, involved in armed dealings. And Mr. Speaker, sir, I will continue with what the ex-minister, Mr. Shakil Mohammed, said on the Public Accounts Committee. Mr. Speaker, sir, he stated that there were 4 members on the government side five members, but he never stated that the chairman of the Public Accounts Committee is Honorable Utim. Now, Mr. Speaker, sir,
Order.
it is whatever...
Excuse me. You're not debating. You're listening to the debate. Please keep quiet. Please keep quiet. Please keep quiet. Keep quiet. Quiet.
Mr. Speaker, sir, on the Public Accounts Committee, on the report, so it is, again, as the Prime Minister earlier stated, that if he has been listening to the public officers, and it is his duty to go to the respective authorities, and he has to inform those respective authorities, and I believe that he will come up, if he's on the list of orators, he will come and tell us what he's going to do with whatever he has listened from the public officers on the Public Accounts Committee on the report that he himself has submitted to the House. Mr. Speaker, sir, for some, COVID-19 only affected Mauritius, and it is even created by this government. The same thing happened with Wakashu, where I would not be surprised, even if they can manage to, by some means, to impute the Ukraine war, because this government has created the Ukraine war.
Quiet. Order.
Mr. Speaker, sir,
Order.
back to COVID-19 management. In fact, we needed strong decisions to shelter our country from the disastrous effects of COVID-19. Bold measures require strong leadership, and this is the marque de fabrique of our Prime Minister, Pravin Kumar Jagnnath. It's no surprise that renowned institutions like the Singaporean Chandler Institute of Governance ranked our country first in Africa and in the world 14th in its good governance index. This is not me saying this. This is the report of that prestigious agency. Mr. Speaker, sir, I listen to you, now you listen to me. If you need... Mr. Speaker, sir, Xanax is available in the private sector, but in hospital it is available freely. If you don't have it, I will make provision to provide anybody who requires this in this house or outside this house. Mr. Speaker, sir, again, prestigious agencies around the world recognize our work. I'm sure our experts in the opposition will disagree and deny it. Mr. Speaker, sir, the word denial, the denial phase in psychology is a defense mechanism. And it's good that I inform the House. It was proposed by Freud. And it involves refusal to accept. Refusal to accept reality. Those blocking the external events from their awareness. I hope that all members from this side of the House, they have already stated what the government is doing and how the denial phase, the immature defense mechanism, is right on track from the other side of the House. Mr. Speaker, sir, I am indeed very proud to serve in a team captained by a modern, visionary, and hard-working leader. Let me highlight the COVID-19 management. It's not only more than 350 times that we met since the beginning of the pandemic. It is also the result. And this result allows our country to be back on track to function normal, be it the education sector, be it the students going to school, be it the activities, the normal activities, and be it tourism. Mr. Speaker, sir, we again received the recognition of international instances for the sound management of COVID. Indicators, it's important to rely on indicators and not what they say there, that we are manipulating figures. UK recorded 259 deaths per 100,000 population. France, 215 deaths. USA, 301 deaths. I'm not saying that for us, chaque décès est un décès de trop, but we outplayed those predictions, and in Mauritius, it is only 81 deaths per 100,000 of the population. This is what the high-level committee did. This is what the Prime Minister did, save the lives of the population. Again, from the other side of the world, it is denial. Mr. Speaker, sir, this government is working to shield the country from disaster and sailing towards normality and creating sensation. This is, who is doing such a job. They went to international press to shamelessly denigrate our country, our motherland. They did not care about the economy, our reputation, our tourism, our employment. What is their aim? Power, 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 even at the expense of the citizens. They adopted the same approach when it came to procurement of equipment and medication. We all know what the WHO predicted, that there would be thousands of deaths in our ICU. So it is our duty to act. Even at that time, there were no planes, there were no ships coming to Mauritius. I will invite Honorable Buddha, who was with us during that time, and he has, during those challenging times, to tell his new allies what is the truth. How at that time, he was there to get all that time. He was there to get all the equipment to Mauritius. And here, what are they sounding? They are sounding that we have done this just for political reasons, for other reasons. No, Mr. Speaker, sir, I hope Honorable Buddha will come and highlight this House what was his contribution, unless at that time he was having a good nap. I don't know. If he is having a good nap, then there was no questions of who will come and report this. So I will leave it to him. So we purchased from all suppliers, from all means, and at that time of crisis, even what for pack and blister, he knew that how it was difficult for us to get the equipment. Again, I will invite him to come up and tell the House how at that time the high-level committee was coordinating to get equipment in Mauritius, and what was the prime objective? It was to safeguard life. Mr. Speaker, sir, it is not Mauritius the only country to have encountered such events, especially when we talk about the pack and blister, about the ventilators. The opposition tend to forget. Do you know how many medical equipment have been left unused in the past? I'm not going to come and blame them for that. Automatic methadone dispensers, there was so many equipments. But at that time, there was no pandemic. All these equipments were brought because they thought that the specification was made by 10 technicians, and they thought that this was going to be to use for our population, for those who will require. But unfortunately, here it is another story of trying to blame the government for making provisions of those equipment. Mr. Speaker, sir, it came to, at one point, there was a PNQ address to me for the procurement of medical supplies and equipment. I tabled all the names of the suppliers. I have no problem of tabling the names, and I'm again inviting them, because at that time, the opposition said there was anguille sous roche, because we have been, having equipment of having masks and all from different suppliers. So I'm waiting for the anguille. Is it still there? It's 2 years now. Where is the anguille? Where is the anguille? What other question? The question was addressed to me in 2020.
Order.
And again, Mr. Speaker, sir, I will just have that, in 2020, I believe there was a question from one opposition member where they queried that why the ministry has over-stockpiling of face masks and purchase of equipment. And finally, what happened, in 2021, when we have, again, the the wave of infection and how these equipments are really meant for saving lives. I'm inviting the questions from them, that they should ask me that question, what the price we paid at that time. Was it reasonable? Was it that we really paid expensive price? Come up and ask me those questions. I will give the figures and I will make the comparison to other islands, especially the small island developing states. Come up with these questions. I'm inviting them. I have always invited, they have been always, Mr. Speaker, sir, asking all questions. And now I'm hearing that there is no democracy, what the leader of the opposition said, that there is no, débat sur la démocratie. But those questions that we are having daily, every week, the parliament is open, the parliament is not closed. Is it not this? Is it not democracy? You are allowed, even as today, to have your motion. Is it not democracy? We have, Mr. Speaker, sir, when the leader of opposition came up with PNQ and molnupiravir, all information, Mr. Speaker, sir, were given to the public through this very house. And what he said that we have not yet effected 1 single rupee payment for the procurement, for the purchase of molnupiravir. I'm welcoming him again for any PNQ, any quick use, for the purchase of drug, for the medical equipment. In fact, I'm ready to give all the information. There is nothing that it is purely transparent. I will give you all the information. Mr. Speaker, sir, some even try to colorate the minister's involvement in the procurement procedures, but their intention was merely vile. Mr. Speaker, sir, at that time, they pointed fingers on the Minister of Health as if I am the culprit. So again, I'll invite the chairman of the PSA to, as earlier stated, to go and even now, tomorrow, to go and do a statement. I will take my responsibility. Again, I say it, Mr. Speaker, sir, I will take my responsibility and I'm ready to do so. So I'm inviting you to do so. Having said that, we remain fundamentally different from those on the other side of the house. I will recall the H1N1 crisis. At that time, tons of Tamiflu were purchased. So what the Honorable Dr. Aumeer said, that time tons of Tamiflu were purchased. We didn't accuse the then government. This is a different approach. This is a different attitude. This is a different behavior of squandering public funds. Because, even in the UK, you have read last week the BMJ report. What happened in the UK? The government, again, is being accused of stockpiling one drug, what you called it Paxlovid, which might eventually go to waste. So this is not only for Mauritius. It was there during the time of H1N1 with the Tamiflu, where tons of medication were purchased. But we did not do that. We did not have, because we know that when it comes to public health, what are predictions? It is not an exact science. We can't, decide exactly what is the amount of drugs will be required. And that's happening in UK. That's happening elsewhere, everywhere around the world, where governments or even authorities have purchased medication and that you can't afford of doing better than them. Mr. Speaker, sir, the money spent in response was meant, again, to save lives. It cannot be compared with the 45 millions of rupees squandered in the Maurice Setner Plaisir, Mr. Speaker, sir. That was squandered money. That was money wasted, and that was money that you spent lavishly on Maurice Setner Plaisir. The fact remains that the resilience of our health system was never put to test. This is undeniable. And on the other side of the house, it is deniable. So, Mr. Speaker, sir, again, regarding the demise of the COVID-positive dialysis patient, it should be noted that they are more vulnerable. Let me tell you the worldwide figures. As at November, Countries like UK had 20% of COVID death among the dialysis patients. In Canada, 28%. In USA, 26%. In Reunion Island, 15%. In Mauritius, the death rate is at 13%. So again here, our health sector remain resilient. And I'm here to point out, to say that I congratulate all those frontliners. I congratulate all the healthcare workers who have done their best, be it for the treatment of patients, be it during the time of pandemic. They have worked relentlessly, and this is where we stand today. Mr. Speaker, sir, our frontliners were accused of all crimes, and this is why the government instituted the fact-finding committee. What is happening now? You blame that the medical negligence standing committee is looking into the allegation of medical negligence on a case-to-case basis, because here justice has to be done and justice has to be fair, all in the legal framework. Time will tell. Let's wait, time will tell what would be the report of the Medical Negligence Standing Committee, and not what's stated by the Honorable Leader of Opposition, that the Medical Negligence Standing Committee is not working. They also accused us of having no compassion for dialysis patients. Let me remind the House, it is this government which set up the new dialysis unit at Long Mountain in 2021. It is this government which upgraded the dialysis unit at Suivez Hospital. It is this government which embarked in replacement of all dialysis machines dated for more than 15 years. It is this government which procured 90 new machines to the tune of 25 million rupees. It is this government which approved the setting up of 2 water treatment plants and at Long Mountain and SSR Hospital to the tune of 11 million rupees. It is this government which procured hemofiltrators for dialysis patients, for hemofiltration machine and portable water treatment plant for dialysis patients. And all that was done during the pandemic and for the welfare of dialysis patients. Now, Mr. Speaker, sir, we are expecting 80 new dialysis machines by end of this year. This government will start work for a new renal transplant unit at Nehru Hospital and upgrade the dialysis machine at Rosebell with 15 new machines again. This government will proceed at upgrading dialysis unit at SSR Hospital and Victoria Hospital. And this government is again in the new Flack Hospital and the Bel Air Mediclinic will have new dedicated dialysis units. Mr. Speaker, sir, all this was done in 2 years while we are battling for the COVID-19, and we know the fight is still on. Some are wise enough to affirm that our country is on fight, and in spite of all those investments. They were in power for so many years when there was no pandemic. Now I will ask them, there was no global crisis. What did they do for the dialysis patients? Nothing. Today, and they have the guts to come up and speak of no confidence. Mr. Speaker, sir, this government succeeded in offering safe and efficient vaccination for the population. I'll have to remind the House, while we were all looking for vaccines, finding where we'll get vaccines and arranging to get vaccines, what is happening? Some are instead encouraging the population to get vaccinated. The population questioned the consent forms. And what that happened? They tried to frighten our citizens. But these very persons, they went into queue up late at night en catimini to get themselves vaccinated in private clinics. Mr. Speaker, sir, however, we are very lucky. We are very lucky that our population did not fall into their open trap. What now, Mr. Speaker, sir? How to create another scandal, how to create anything that will come to their mind. They will create it, they will try to make it to be a scandal. Mr. Speaker, sir, we acknowledge that the PSC report and is there even for the audit report. At least for us, in fact, we are grateful for audit report. It comes with constructive criticism. This document has always highlighted things to improve, and irrespective of the government of the day. As if this is the first time that we are having critics of the audit report, and so it means doing politics on the audit report. It is easy to affirm that drugs are wasted and that have to be discarded. Imagine, Mr. Speaker, sir, for one moment, is critical drugs are not available in Mauritius. We are not a country that can produce drugs, medication. We are very far away an island. We can't purchase in bulk. We can't get it overnight. It takes time. We have to follow procedures. How would you imagine if these drugs are not available? Even if Xanax are not available, do you know how it is painful? Mr. Speaker, sir? Even if Xanax are not available, is it not very painful? We have to understand. So we have to have extra amount of Xanax always be there in the stock. We acknowledge that we have, concerning audit report, we acknowledge that we have to improve, and there is room for improvement. For that, Mr. Speaker, sir, we have set up...
Democracy is debate. No.
Kemal, take one Xanax.
Order. I know ça fait du mal, but this is parliamentary debate. This is parliamentary democracy.
Because, sir, money spent...
This is... You have to withdraw it. Thank you. Try to conclude.
Yes, Mr. Speaker. In 3 minutes, I will conclude. Mr. Speaker, sir, money spent to ensure the health and wellness of our citizens is never wasted money. Money wasted is in crumbling Terre Rouge Verdun Lake Road. Money wasted is in leaking Bagatelle Dam. Money wasted is when we use to finance ole holidays in the Swiss Alps. Money wasted is when more than 1,150 acres of prime land, state-owned land, are lavishly handed to Tikopin and Tikopine. Mr. Speaker, sir, I will conclude by the...
Rapidly,
Mr. Speaker, sir. Now, it's 30 months and 3 days that this government, after the last election, democratically elected government, this government, which will introduce, are doing a lot of projects. I will have time during the budget speech to say all the achievement of this government. Mr. Speaker, sir, the list is very long for the accomplishment. I will come back again.
May I stop you there?
Yeah.
For the record of the whip, Chief Whip, 12 minutes have gone through the reserve. Please. So I will now call MP Bhagwan.
Merci pour l'applaudissement. Mr. Speaker, on this side of the House, I found the Minister of Health very nervous. I think it was his time to take his pills. So we have no lesson to learn from him, and we know that he's good in singing, so I'll advise him to go and sing Kokroko outside. Monsieur le Président, cette motion de censure que nous débattons aujourd'hui contre le gouvernement, à son mi-mandat, est totalement justifiée, voire nécessaire. Qu'importe l'issue du vote qui s'en suivra, il est opportun de rappeler à ce gouvernement ses grosses lacunes, ses carences et surtout sa responsabilité première envers la nation et le peuple. Cette motion est aussi contre sa gouvernance, ou plutôt son absence totale de gouvernance. Government, Monsieur le Président, n'est pas le synonyme de gouvernance. Faut-il rappeler aux membres de la majorité qu'ils ne sont que les locataires du Government House, que pour la durée de leur mandat et non les propriétaires du pays et de toutes les institutions. Comment se porte le navire Mauritius, Monsieur le Président, depuis les dernières élections? Le capitaine a perdu son second et a dû lui trouver un remplaçant. Son colistier a perdu son portefeuille et son aura dans son fief. Le capitaine doit souvent quitter la passerelle pour descendre dans les cales où se trouve la cuisine pour prendre ses feuilles de route. Son fidèle lieutenant a sérieusement endommagé le gouvernail économique par ses maladresses répétées. Et certains de ses ministres lui comblent de louanges et lui fournissent des faux renseignements. La lourde cargaison de dettes a affecté la ligne de flottaison et a ralenti sensiblement le navire. Et certains en profitent pour piller la cargaison de grande valeur, alors que d'autres se tiennent près des canaux de sauvetage. Monsieur le Président, s'il fallait établir un bilan, le bilan du mi-mandat de ce gouvernement, voilà l'image qu'on retiendrait. Quant à Air Mauritius, nul besoin de métaphore pour décrire comment les administrateurs lui ont méthodiquement coupé les ailes et éjecté sur le tarmac des centaines d'employés qui ont servi loyalement cette compagnie pendant des décennies. Monsieur le Président, un gouvernement qui se respecte doit d'abord respecter la démocratie. Or, les élections municipales ont été renvoyées à 2 reprises, confisquant ainsi aux citadins leurs droits civiques. Ils ont sauvé, batté, bif, pour gagner. Quant à notre auguste Assemblée, on constate à chaque séance comment notre démocratie parlementaire est allègrement piétinée sur les applaudissements des tapés à la table. Pour la population, cependant, la plus grande déception, je dirais même la plus grande trahison, est au niveau du coût de la vie. Le feu court sous les cendres, que le torseau pour autres. Ministre Pébizin galoupé. Monsieur le ministre, allez sur le terrain. Bodyguard, vous avez une bodyguard. Il y a une profonde colère au sein de la population. Quand un gouvernement joue avec le pouvoir d'achat de la population, il joue dangereusement avec le feu. Les ménagères s'arrachent les cheveux pour faire bouillir la marmite. Allez au supermarché, vous verrez comment les consommateurs se ruent sur les produits en promotion, sur les articles de bas de gamme. Les Mauriciens sont victimes de l'incompétence, de l'insouciance et de l'affairisme de ce gouvernement. Je disais plutôt que la gouvernance n'est pas le synonyme de gouvernement. La gouvernance concerne la manière dont un gouvernement et les autres organisations sociétales interagissent. Comment elles interagissent avec les citoyens et comment les décisions sont prises dans un monde de plus en plus complexe. Pour comprendre l'idée de gouvernance dans un cadre public, il est important de comprendre que l'intérêt pour les questions d'intérêt public ne se limite pas au gouvernement. D'autres acteurs, y compris les médias, ainsi que les entreprises, la société civile et des ONG partagent un intérêt, parfois un rôle, dans la résolution des problèmes publics. Les médias contribuent à relier les secteurs quand ils véhiculent l'information de l'un à l'autre et peuvent jouer un rôle important dans la responsabilisation en façonnant les perceptions de la politique publique. Ils appartiennent clairement à tout débat sur la gouvernance. Sur ce chapitre, Monsieur le Président, on ne peut que déplorer les tentatives de l'IBA de museler les radios privées, tandis que l'ICTA se transforme en gabelou des réseaux sociaux. Les interpellations suite aux postes jugés blasphématoires par le régime sont effectuées à la vitesse grand V par le CCID, dans le but d'instaurer un climat de peur et décourager les internautes, surtout les jeunes, à exprimer librement leurs opinions. La publicité gouvernementale est utilisée pour soutenir certains titres de presse collaborationnistes et à fixer ceux qui chérissent leurs indépendances, alors que la MBC nous confie 150 roupies mensuellement pour nous servir une insidieuse propagande chaque soir. C'est peut-être là que réside maintenant la différence fondamentale entre les deux termes. La gouvernance concerne la manière dont le pouvoir est exercé, qui a de l'influence, qui décide et comment les décideurs sont tenus responsables. Qui a de l'influence, que constatons-nous? Des conseillers, des membres d'une obscure cuisine, des hommes d'affaires ont aujourd'hui plus de pouvoir que les ministres et exercent une forte influence sur la prise des décisions. Nous n'avons même pas un gouvernement digne de ce nom. nous avons un semi-gouvernement. Et les leviers du pouvoir sont tenus par les non-élus et les courtisans véreux. Et quasiment toutes les institutions du pays ont été prises en otage par un autocrate capricieux et peureux. Monsieur le Président, depuis 2019, le pays a connu pas mal de scandales. Pas mal de scandales ont été découverts, ont été mis à nu ici, au niveau du Parlement, à travers les questions parlementaires, dont les réponses ont été rarement données. Aujourd'hui, il y a d'autres. On passe devant les cliniques Smart métaphosées, en two futures, en congruant 235 millions au passage. Des affairistes piranhas voraces et insatistiables attirés par l'odeur de l'argent sale pullulent dans les couloirs du pouvoir. S'il faut en rire que d'en pleurer devant cette rapacité sans limite, y compris sur les ventilateurs, le cadavre calciné de Telfer doit constamment nous rappeler que la fin justifie les moyens pour ces prédateurs de l'argent public. Oui, il y a la fameuse LICAC qui paraît maintenant péguée de figure. Villarosa, l'ancienne ambassadrice des États-Unis à Maurice, n'avait-elle pas déclaré avant son départ « I am bewildered at the ICAC today. There is so much turmoil that it has lost all its credibility. » Monsieur le Président, il existe un degré considérable de corrélation entre les niveaux de la corruption, la gouvernance et la qualité de leadership. Le mercredi 23 octobre 2019, l'Alliance mauricienne divulguait les grandes lignes de son manifeste électoral. Voici ce que le Premier ministre disait. Nous mènerons une politique de zéro tolérance contre la fraude et la corruption. Qu'est-ce que nous constatons aujourd'hui, Monsieur le Président? Plus de fraude, plus de corruption. Beaucoup plus de fraude et de corruption. La grandeur d'un homme, disait Bob Marley, ne se mesure pas à la richesse qu'il acquiert, mais à son intégrité et à sa capacité à affecter positivement les gens autour de lui. Je ne peux terminer mon intervention, Monsieur le Président, sur la question environnementale. Monsieur le Président, l'emblématique clé-sérelle de Maurice a été déclaré ou sera déclaré l'oiseau national de l'île Maurice. Le sauvetage de ce rapace est une des plus grandes réussites en matière de conservation, et non seulement à Maurice, mais également dans le monde. La population sauvage actuelle de cresserelles s'élève à 350. Mais ce qu'il faut savoir, c'est que cette population a été réduite de 700 à 350 en 10 ans. Pourquoi? Principalement en raison de la déforestation entraînant une réduction de l'habitat. Mais ce qui se préoccupe, Monsieur le Président, s'il y a quelqu'un de ce gouvernement qui songerait à la personnalité, est-ce qu'il y a quelqu'un au sein de ce gouvernement qui songerait à la personnalité juridique de nos lagons, de nos forêts et de nos rivières? Malheureusement, c'est à la destruction de nos wetlands, des flancs de montagne, de nos forêts et de nos lagons qu'on est témoin. Et ce ne sont pas les actions cosmétiques de la National Environment and Cleaning Authority qui renverseront cette tendance destructrice. Il y a un total mépris pour la planification pour le long terme et pour les enjeux qui détermineront la qualité de vie de nos enfants et de notre République. Le populisme aujourd'hui est à la base de toute action au gouvernement. Monsieur le Président, pour conclure, nous débattons d'une motion qui a déjà été votée, sans débat, par la population dans son ensemble. Ceux qui marchent dans les rues en savent. Ceux qui sont dans les grandes voitures ne savent pas, ils sont protégés. Et certains ont goûté dans le sud-est cette révolte des habitants. Et, Monsieur le Président, et pour cause, un pouvoir d'achat en chute libre, une qualité de vie qui ne cesse de se dégrader, alors que nous assistons, la population assiste à la dilapidation des fonds publics qui se poursuit en toute impunité. Monsieur le Président, Confucius avait dit, sous un bon gouvernement, la pauvreté est une honte, mais sous un mauvais gouvernement, la richesse est aussi une honte. Je vous remercie.
Gobin.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. So, I thank the speaker who was speaking before me. He was reminding me of what he was saying hardly 2 years back in 2019. I can distinctly remember Honorable Senior Member Bhagwan saying that we would be walking with helmets on our head.
Wait.
I distinctly remember It's for part of debate. It forms part of debate. I remember you saying, Honorable Senior Member, I bow to your seniority in this House. But we have heard that many times from you especially. Allow me very humbly to say, vous êtes déconnecté, mon cher ami. You know, each time I hear my honorable colleague saying, "Kultasu, we will wear helmets and all that." Mr. Speaker, sir, what I want to say is, we are not oblivious to what is happening outside. We know very well, just the same way as we knew what was happening outside in 2019, and the election results prove us to be right and proved you to be wrong. Likewise, even now, we know what is happening. On ne fait pas la politique de l'autruche. I will come back to this point a bit later. Let me first of all say, what is this motion of no confidence about? I will go straight to the point, and I will take very few minutes, Mr. Speaker, sir, because I think my colleagues who spoke before me have elaborated a lot on the actions of government, and the actions of government speak volumes of what government is doing in favor of the population. I totally understand the Honourable Leader of the Opposition proposing a motion of no confidence at this specific stage because of the recent events. Honourable Leader of the Opposition is expecting, as any other leader of the opposition would have expected, that a motion of no confidence at this particular point in time will bring cracks in the majority of government. And this is exactly what Honourable Mohammed did. And une fois n'est pas coutume, I have to say, well done, Honourable Shakil Mohammed, who is not here. He tried to use the PSC report of Honourable Yutim to create cracks in the majority of government. Let me reassure the 1% opposition. There will be no crack in the majority of government. What is the leader of the opposition saying? If we were to be in power, we will do this, we will do that. If we were to be in power, we would have done, ce sont des suppositions, avec des si, on mettrait Paris en bouteille. Right? Qu'est-ce que c'est? Ce sont des suppositions. Sans fondement, spéculation, vaine, inutile, totally waste the time of the House. Let me ask the people of Mauritius a question. Will the people of Mauritius trust Honourable Leader of the Opposition more than they trust Pravin Kumar Jagnnath? This is the question, it's a question of trust. We are all going through hard times, Honourable Leader of the Opposition. Even you are going through hard times. We are all going through hard times because of the compounded effects of COVID-19 and the war between Russia and Ukraine. When Shanghai harbor is still closed, when that machinery around Shanghai is still to a standstill because of COVID, it affects everybody. And when I look at the Honourable Leader of Opposition, on your table, you have a flashy red phone. Even that phone cover probably has come from Shanghai. With the war in Ukraine and with the standstill in Shanghai, that delivery will be delayed. When I look at the seconder of the motion, Honourable Senior Member Béranger, when I look at that proud pin you're wearing, I salute you for wearing the pin of Mauritius. Even that pin probably comes from China. Even the price of that pin has gone up. Why? Because Shanghai is not working because of the COVID pandemic. Did you say that to the people out there? That the paper clips on Honourable Lobin's desk is no longer available probably because of the freight, because of the ships. Are you saying that to the people out there? No, you are not. What are you saying? Government must go. Why? To make place for you? You think you can do better? We are the first ones to say we could have done better. You know why, Mr. Speaker? So we had a program in 2019. Machinery of government was going at full speed when in March 2020 we had to come to an abrupt stop. We are the ones who are frustrated. We wanted to complete our program as we had announced in this House. But could we have done otherwise? Could we have predicted the COVID pandemic? Could we have predicted what Mr. Putin would have done? We could not have predicted that, but we have to face it. What are they doing? 1% opposition thinks they will bring cracks in the majority of government. They will not. Let me tell the people what is the opposition capable of, this opposition. When we were increasing pensions in 2014, when we had even announced the increase in pension in 2014, they said, no, papu kapab, penakas. When we had the money in 2014, they were saying no. This is the denial principle, as Honorable Dr. Jagutpal, qualified psychiatrist, is saying. When we were buying vaccines, or when we were receiving vaccines by donation, they said, no, don't go and do the vaccines. You're taking too much risk. They were discouraging the people. This is the denial. Just to say no. It's the pleasure of saying no. No, don't go for vaccination. And then today, the paradox is, Honorable Leader of the Opposition says, we can remove our masks. Would you be able to remove your masks had you not been vaccinated with the same vaccines which this government brought to this country? When the CSG was announced and when the CSG bill was presented to this House, they were the first ones to vociferously say no. But today, what is the argument? The same CSG has brought 15 billion rupees in the coffers of the state, and we can use those 15 billion rupees. Qu'est-ce que c'est ça? Blowing hot and cold, depending on which day of the week we are. It is this opposition that the people of Mauritius will believe there is no way. There is no way. They believe that people will say they can do better. The people of Mauritius had shown in the last election, as in so many elections, in whom they place their trust. And believe me, we are in contact with the people. Avec le peuple. Honorable Bhagwan has left, who will say, yes, Koltaso, bien sûr Koltaso, so pour tout le monde. But we will face it together. We will face it together. And let me tell the people, yes, there are tough times. We are in tough times. We were the first ones to say we are going to go through tough times. And these tough times will continue for some time, Mr. Speaker, so we say it to the people. But we stand together in tough times. We don't do like 1% opposition is doing. And believe me, let me come to that 1%. That sondage published on Sunday was not paid for by my party or Centrus. It was by Le Mauricien. Yet, they come with the motion of no confidence. Never mind. Tough times are here, but as the saying goes, tough times do not last. Tough people do. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Honourable members, at this stage, I will suspend the sitting for 1.5 hours.